So we're going to start off with some intros here. So again, welcome everyone. We're super excited to have you here as new Banana Slugs and specifically in the psych department. My name is Paige. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I'm a very proud UCSC alum, as is kind of obvious. I get a little overexcited, so bear with me. I'm just really excited for you all. I'm one of your psychology undergraduate advisors. And I studied literature and education when I was a student here. But I'm pretty well versed in the psychology department and the opportunities available. And I look forward to chatting with you all, hopefully in person or over Zoom. And I'll go ahead and hand it over to my colleague, Julia, to introduce herself.
Hi everyone, I'm Julia. I use she, her pronouns. I'm also one of your psychology undergraduate advisors. And I did study psychology at UCSC in the past. So I'm glad to see you all here, and I'll pass it to Ryan.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Ryan. I'm also a psychology alum, 2019. My name is Slug. I'm one of your undergraduate advisors here in the psychology department, and I look forward to helping you out throughout your career here. I'll pass it on to, I guess, Carrie.
Hi, all. I'm Carrie Walker. I'm the field study director for the psych department. You'll probably see me a little bit further along in your slug career, junior, senior year, but I'm excited to work with you all and help you take that transition to the work world after you graduate. And I'll pass it on to Wendy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Wendy Kusunoki. I'm the undergraduate program coordinator and
your school email for them to let you in.
assistant manager. And I use she, her pronouns, and just want to welcome everybody to UCSC. And I will pass it on to our department chair, Dr. Ben Storm.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and to welcome you all to the majors here in psychology and cognitive science. This is my second year serving as chair, and I look forward to meeting you all and hopefully having you in some classes. My research is on memory and cognition, and so I teach classes related to that, but also research methods quite a bit. So I'm hoping to have some of you in that class. But we have a wonderful department here with 3 areas of emphasis, as we'll talk a little bit more about. And yeah, feel free to reach out. I'm here. I'll introduce next Sue Hua, our vice chair.
Hello, hi, good morning, everyone. Glad that you made it. My name is Su Hua Wang. I'm the vice chair and the director of undergraduate affairs. I work with this wonderful advising team on various things related to your experience here. I'm also a professor here. I study children focusing on their first 5 years. My work is interdisciplinary, meaning it crosses different disciplines. I'm in the developmental psychology area, but my work also goes to cognitive and social. I also collaborate with people in education and engineering. I've worked with a lot of undergraduate students in my lab, and our advisors will also be talking about that aspect of experience and opportunities in this presentation. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. So we're all a team. We're really excited to have you here. So we'll get going here on our presentation. It'll let me. Here we go. All right, bear with me. All right, perfect. So first, we just wanted to introduce you to the majors in our department. I know some of you may already be aware of those, but I know the majority of you are going to be proposed majors, which is a little bit different. So when we're thinking about psychology, we're talking about the human mind, we're talking about development. Ben mentioned we have those subfields. So we have developmental psychology, social psychology, and cognitive psychology. So essentially what we're going to be looking at here is functionality of the human mind, and especially looking at behavior in a social context. Cognitive science is interesting because it's a little more interdisciplinary. And I know Suwa was talking about her interdisciplinary work. We're going to be talking about the study of thought, memory, perception, language. All of these overlap with a lot of other departments, including philosophy, linguistics, AI, artificial intelligence, computer science. A lot of those things you'll be able to explore with the cognitive science major. Awesome. So here's a little roadmap. You can see the little happy person with their diploma at the end. Our goal is to get you there. First, we're going to have to move towards declaration, and you all are entering your first quarter, so you're not quite there yet. But we're going to be talking about some declaration requirements today and what that entails and what's expected of you there. From there, you're going to be moving into Psych 100, and that's a prerequisite for a lot of your upper division coursework. If you don't know what an upper division class is, that's essentially any class with a course number of 100 to 199. Lower division is going to be anything between 1 to 99, which is the majority of what you'll be doing during your first year. Like I said, you'll be moving into those upper divs. You'll have a senior seminar, which is kind of an exit requirement as you prepare to graduate. And then you get to walk the stage and take a picture with Sammy the Slug, and it's going to be really exciting. And that's our goal to get you all there. And I will hand it over to Julia.
All right, so for the psychology major, we have 2 concentrations, the general and intensive concentration. Both concentrations have the same declaration requirements, which are pre-calculus, intro to psychology, and statistics. You may have already tested out of some of these requirements if you earned a qualifying score on an AP exam or another test. But if you didn't test out of them and need to take these, which is very normal, for the statistics and Psych 1 requirements, you have to earn a B- or better in order to declare. And then for the pre-calculus requirement, you just need to pass the class with a C or better. And for our cognitive science major, we have some different requirements in order to declare, which are calculus, programming, statistics, and Psych 20. This information was presented at our previous orientation sessions as well, but this slide includes all of the courses that you can use to fulfill each of these requirements. Within these 4 courses, you need to earn a 2.8 GPA or higher in order to be eligible to declare, which is about a B or B- average. And then I'll pass it on to Ryan to talk a little bit more about how you declare your major.
Thank you. Once you've met the requirements to declare, you can do so by following the major declaration instructions on our website. They're essentially the same, but there are multiple links for those who are either in cognitive science or psychology. All of you will need to declare by the deadline, which is your 6th quarter here at UCSC. In your particular case, that's going to be spring of 2025. At the end of your 2nd year. Declaring on time is important, otherwise you'll have enrollment holds for any following quarters. Moving on. Talking about pass, no pass. As you take all of your courses for your major requirements, you will also want to be aware of our pass, no pass policy and grading options. To reiterate, we require letter grades for the courses that you are using to declare your major, but all other courses in our major can be taken pass, no pass. Basically, once you've declared. All courses are automatically set to be taken as a letter grade, but you can opt to switch to pass, no pass, which basically means if you get a C or better, you pass. If you well, get anything less than that, you don't pass, but it doesn't affect your GPA in either case. The deadline to change your letter grade option is always around the end of the instruction before finals, so you will always have plenty of time during the quarter to decide whether or not you want to do pass, no pass. It is important to note that regardless of our policies, the university has a 25% cap on how many courses you can take or how many credits you can take pass, no pass. It's also important to consider how many courses you're taking pass, no pass when you're looking into things like graduate programs, as they prefer to see some letter grade progress. All right, academic plans. Academic plans lay out the coursework you should be taking during your 4 years here to make progress toward finishing your major. There are sample academic plans available online at our website that you can make copies of and explore and experiment with as you see fit. Once you complete the declaration process, you will receive an official signed academic plan, and this plan can only be edited by us and our other advisors. But you're always free to make a copy of that and personalize that as you wish. As suggested, you can create a sample plan for yourself, but if you prefer, you can meet with a peer advisor and you guys can work together to create a personal plan together. As incoming first year students, we recommend that you guys focus your first 2 years within your academic plan on your lower division coursework and obviously declaration requirements and any GEs and things that you might need to get out of the way. And I'm gonna pass it back on to Paige.
I was muted. We love Zoom. Okay. Rewind. I was just saying this is a little bit of a snapshot of our psychology advising website. So this graphic will be on our main website. I know instruction starts Thursday. Some of you may or may not have classes that day, but we will be back in person that day. And then following that, we'll be on a hybrid schedule, and that means we'll be in our office on campus Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So we're in room 273 at Social Sciences 2. You all will figure out where that is, but it's kind of above Colleges 9 and John R. Lewis. So you can schedule appointments with us on our website, and we'll show you a little bit of what that looks like in a second. We also have a drop-in advising calendar, and that has the Zoom link information in there as well. So you can check that out if you're unable to make an appointment for whatever reason. Typically, we can get most questions answered in drop-ins, but if you want that more one-on-one session, we recommend scheduling an appointment. Awesome. So here's a little bit, another snapshot of our website. So we have these really helpful buttons that take you to the correct place. Basically, when you're on the undergraduate advising page, you'll see a variety of buttons here. Probably the one you'll be using the most at this point is going to be peer advising, drop-in calendar, and appointments, and also maybe academic advisors to learn a little bit more about us. Moving through here. This is the drop-in calendar. So you can see it maps out the times, and we're going to be on that Zoom call, or our peer advisors are going to be on that Zoom call for that time duration. So you're welcome to hop on anytime, and then you'll probably be put in a waiting room, and we'll let you in as we work with students. And yep, all the Zoom information is there. If you have any issues with the Zoom links, just feel free to email us at sciadv. And we'll try to help you out with that. So you might recognize the people on the right. So there we are. The way our appointments are kind of set up and how we respond to our emails, we call it an alpha split. So you can see, for example, me, I answer everyone with last names A through GO. And sometimes it's more helpful to schedule an appointment with someone that falls in your alpha split. If you can't do that, that's okay. But it provides a little bit more of a consistency, but Ryan, Julia, and myself all do the same job. So we work together as well. And you're going to be making appointments through Slug Success, which sometimes takes people a little bit of time to navigate and understand. So following up here, let's go back real quick. We do have a guide on our website as well of how to navigate Slug Success and how to schedule those appointments as well. Awesome. And I will go ahead and hand it over to Carrie.
All right. Also, as I mentioned before, I'm the director for field study, but I also help kind of coordinate enrollment for a couple other independent study options that you might be interested in later on in your career with psychology or cognitive science. So with the field study program, that's Psych 193, students get to participate in an internship for 2 quarters. And so you go to an info session, you learn about the program, and then you would actually apply to the program. Once you get admitted, you get to see all the internships available and actually go through the process of applying and interviewing. and getting selected for an internship. So it's a really cool experience. If you get the chance to kind of plan that into your academic plan, I totally recommend it. I do recommend be flexible with the time that you plan to take it, because a lot of students want the experience. So it can be helpful to just kind of think about it as somewhere in your junior or senior year once you have completed Psych 100. As far as the other independent study options, you have advanced research, which is Psych 194, and you have the senior thesis. So advanced research is you get credit for being a research assistant. You do have to look at the postings that are available. So another thing on our website that you can find is the research postings that are available currently. The faculty do have those listed, and so you can see which faculty are looking for new RAs for their lab and see which ones that you might meet the qualifications for. A lot of labs do require that students have completed Psych 100, but sometimes there might be exceptions to that. So I just recommend looking at the postings and seeing what they actually list as the requirements and qualifications for the RA positions. As far as senior thesis, this is a very independent study project. You do work on it in collaboration with a faculty member that you already know. So normally it's not something you're coming up with on your own that you want to research, but something that you're working or kind of come up with in concert with a faculty member that you might be in a lab with or that you've had a course with, and you've kind of developed a relationship with them. And students can participate in the thesis for up to 3/4 of their work. So that's kind of the quick summary of all the independent study options that you could pursue in your junior or senior year, or whenever you meet the qualifications as far as the RA-ship. And I'll turn it over to Paige to talk a little bit about the global learning opportunities.
And I think, yeah, Julia, if you want to take it over.
Oh, sorry, Julia.
No worries. Thank you.
Julia, yeah, go for it.
All right, so global learning can be a very meaningful addition to your psychology or cognitive science degree. Both of the majors are very flexible with accommodating studying abroad. So if you're interested in seeing how you can explore the world while also earning major credit, please feel free to reach out to us or the global learning team to get started. The global learning team has their own very informative website, and we also have a page on our website that's specific to studying abroad as a psychology and cognitive science major. So definitely check those out if you're interested. And then there are some fall events that the global learning team will be hosting. Some of them have already happened, but there are a few that are coming up. So I would definitely recommend attending those if you're interested in studying abroad. And then I'll pass it back to Paige to wrap up the presentation.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. And little pro tip, try to go to as many events that they're planning as possible on campus during Welcome Week. At the very least, go to Cornucopia, which is today, because every organization that exists on campus will be on the East Field tabling. You can grab flyers, you can sign up for email lists for volunteering stuff. So it's a really great opportunity to meet a lot of students and see what work they're doing. All right. Whoop. Okay. So some final reminders. If you kind of didn't, if you don't remember anything else from this session, here's some things that I really want you to remember. Your UCSC email is your best friend. Please only use your UCSC email when communicating with us. We're not going to not answer you, but what we're going to do is just CC your UCSC email in our response. And that's to prompt you all to use it. And we'll also probably ask you in the email to use it. Your professors will only be communicating with you via this email. Very important information from the university, whether it's financial aid payments, anything like that, will be through your UCSC email. So save your personal Gmail, Yahoo, whatever it is, for your family and friends, and transition to using that UCSC email while you're here. We do have our psychology department newsletters, which we work on. So check those out. Those will be available on the website. Meet with us. That's why we're here. We love working with students. Myself, Ryan, and Julia are available for appointments, as well as our peer advisors that will be onboarded this fall. Another thing, TAs, our teacher assistants, is a very underutilized resource. Professors often tell me they're lonely because no one ever comes to their job, to their office hours. And you can go and get any of your questions answered at that time. If you're unsure how to write a paper, they're going to know the answer to how you should format your paper because they're the one that assigned it. It's also a great opportunity to network for research opportunities, to talk to professors about what they're doing, how they got to where they are today, and just gain that knowledge from some experts on campus. Go to class. Enough said there. We're on the quarter system. Even if we weren't, you should still be going to class, but missing one class can set you behind. Obviously, if you're sick, that's different, but don't just be skipping class because our quarter system moves fairly quickly, and we want you all to be successful. And follow us on social media. We have our own Instagram that we've revitalized that we're working on. So we have a Facebook as well. I don't know if anyone still uses that. I have mine when I was 14. I basically like my mom's posts, but we also have a Facebook and we have a Google group as well. But that is kind of it for our presentation today. I will just leave you all with a couple upcoming events. So to be determined, we have our faculty advising fair. And that will be really exciting, where instructors will be there to talk about some of their research, what they're doing. And then you will recognize the people on the right again. Oh, there we are. We'll be doing a student experience panel, and that will be in person on October 5th from 10 to 11 over at the Social Sciences 2 building, which is where our office is, just in a different room. And myself, Ryan, and Julia, we're all alums. And then we'll be joined by Savannah, our lead peer advisor, who's a current psychology student. And we'll just be talking about our experiences, what it's like to be a UCSC student, about the department, about college in general. So we're really excited and hope to see you all there. So let me check the time really quick. Oh, great. We're doing really well. So right now we're just going to open it up to kind of a Q&A. I'm just going to unshare really quickly, so bear with me. I'm not seeing the Q&A feature on the Zoom for some reason, unless I'm missing something. But you all are more than welcome to put your questions in the chat. Also, feel free to raise your hand virtually and unmute yourself. Oh, Suwa.
I just raised my hand. I just want to quickly also mention that we also hold events, quarterly events. If you go to that Instagram UCSC psychology page, you'll see several posts about what's my lab do. It's a quarterly event where we invite one professor to chat with you about their research and what their lab group has been up to. It's a good way of knowing more about the opportunities here. And we also have quarterly events that might be for later about graduate school application. Yeah, so there lots of things ongoing, and so do check your emails and stay connected with our advising team.
Awesome. Thank you, Suwa. And I see some questions coming in on the chat, so bear with us. The chat moves very quickly. We will be posting the recording of this session, and that obviously will include the slides on our website, so you all can review those again. I see a question about not being a declared major. That's exactly what you should be at this point. So as Frosh, you all are proposed majors, which essentially means you're thinking about moving towards the psychology pathway, and you're going to be working on declaration requirements in the meantime. That doesn't mean you have to be a psychology major. Obviously, that would be awesome, and we'd love to work with you. But you have an opportunity to explore other things with your GEs and stuff like that. So at this point, everyone here should be a proposed major. And then you'll move towards declaration. Let's see. Looks like there's a question about academic plans. So as Frosh, typically we don't make official plans for you all just because it's so early, but once our peer advisors are onboarded, you can work with them to kind of make an unofficial plan, talk about those declaration requirements and what you can fill in the meantime. GEs are your best friend for your first couple of years. That's going to be the majority of your coursework, and that's just as productive as your major coursework, so keep that in mind. Let's see. we aren't taking Psych 1 this quarter, will this set us back on a psychology major path? Great question. Absolutely not. You do not have to be in any major classes your first quarter, even your second quarter. People change their majors all the time. You are not behind. So rest assured, all is good there. If you're in all GEs, that's just as productive as being in Psych 1 and 2 GEs. So don't worry about that. Yep, no one's behind. So you're all good there. And I understand the anxiety. I remember when I enrolled as a freshman, I had 10 backup schedules prepared. None of them worked. And I'd say that not to scare you, but like here I am now advising you all. So it does work out in the end. How do we know which? Oh, okay. Yeah, and if anyone wants to unmute and ask their question, that would be awesome as well. Computer science classes. So that's going to be a matter of just reading over the prerequisites and seeing if there are any that apply to that class. Oftentimes students in Cog Sci don't have any programming experience. That is a declaration requirement though. So you just want to look at the coursework available and then we can kind of evaluate it from there. Can you add a double major? Absolutely. I was a double major. You can add a minor as well. Although if it's computer science, you cannot declare computer science as a major. You can declare it as a minor. Computer science is our most impacted and you need to be admitted as such. So no one can be a computer science major switching in once they're here. All right. Bear with me. We're trying to address all these. Thank you to my colleagues for typing in the chat as I'm scrolling. Are there any benefits to declaring early? You could say so, but you know, at this point, you're going to be kind of on your own timeline. Some students have tested out of Psych 1. Some have even tested out of stats. If that's not you, you are not behind. I want to just throw that out there that doesn't make you behind and like lesser than. You all are pursuing the same major pathway and some people may just have test scores that they're using. So don't worry too much about that. Declaring early, you should declare as soon as you've reached the declaration requirements. As soon as you reach that point, you should declare. So there's no reason to be waiting around. But by that 6th quarter is that deadline that Ryan mentioned, and that's just kind of a university policy that's really important. So as soon as you can declare before that time is ideal. Okay. Got questions about declaring minors. Essentially, you would go to that department and they have their own advisors, essentially. Double majors. Yes, so if you wanted to add another major, if it so happens, if you're Cog Sci and you want a double major in Psych, you would come to us, so that's pretty simple. But if it's outside of our department, you would go directly to them. Once you have an official academic plan, they would then put in their major academic plan and kind of merge them together so we can map out a timeline for your graduation. Just to make sure if summer sessions may or may not be necessary, just making sure we're staying on track. Want to stay on discuss our schedule. And I will be hosting drop-ins from 11:15 to 12 p.m. Today or this morning. So you all are welcome to stop by if you have additional questions at that time. Oh, do we have to pay for tutoring services? Great question. So we have MSI, modified supplemental instruction. That's a really fancy name for slugs tutoring other slugs. So that's another job opportunity on campus if you all want to become MSI tutors in the future. A lot of people that I knew from UCSC were MSI tutors and really enjoyed it. So that is essentially someone that's gotten a B or better in the course in the past. They've gone through a training process. They've taken a class about being a tutor, and then they conduct sessions throughout the week, and those are totally free to students. So I went to that when I took a statistics class because I was literature and education. That was very scary for me. And that definitely helped me be successful in that class. We also have small group tutoring. And that is something you have to coordinate at the beginning of the quarter, but our tutoring resources are free unless you're working outside of UCSC. Right. Is there a pre-med, major, or minor? Great question. So UCSC is a little bit unique in that we don't have a prescribed like pre-med pathway. However, we have coursework you can do that sets you up for those applications. So at the Career Center, we have pre-health coaching. So I recommend checking that out, and they can walk you through what coursework would make sense to incorporate with your major. And they can talk to you about the different options there. Does a good score in the ALEKS test fulfill the math prerequisite for Psych 1? So yeah, so Psych 1 in and of itself doesn't really have prerequisites, but an ALEKS score can test you out of the pre-calculus requirement if you get at least a 300. And sometimes students opt to still take a pre-calculus class, even if they test out of it. That's not saying anybody here has to do that, but sometimes people are like, I feel like I forgot everything. I'm not really sure. So that's something you can evaluate for what's best for you. How feasible is it to take the 3-year pathway? Good question. So the psychology department is what we call impacted. And essentially what that means is we just have so many students interested in our department and our majors that sometimes enrolling in classes can be a little bit difficult, but that's why we're here as advisors and we'll do everything we can. Sometimes there's things out of our control. We do have a 3-year pathway plan. And people are able to do that. Typically with the general psychology major, you can do that in that amount of time. Just keeping in mind that everybody needs 180 credits, regardless of their major. So sometimes that will require university electives, which is literally any course we offer, or typically with general psychology, you could double major even at a minor and still graduate in 4 years. And the 3 years would be a little more expedited, obviously, and would likely require a summer session, but it definitely is possible. It's just something we have to kind of navigate with our impacted department, but we do have a 3-year pathway plan. Let's see. Y'all are so ambitious. I love it. I have questions about job opportunities post-graduation. This is so impressive. I was like still figuring out like how to even get to my classes. So that's something, if you want to schedule an appointment, that's something we can talk about in more depth, what your interests are. I know some people, I've met with some Frosh already who are talking about grad school already. And props to you on that. As someone that's gone to grad school, we can talk about that in a little bit more depth. But we can talk about those opportunities in a more one-on-one appointment. And you can schedule that with us like we talked about. Let's see, you mentioned it's doable to do a general psych and double major. Is it possible to do that with an intensive psych? Yes, so people do double major with intensive psych. Okay, yeah, it looks like this is different than the 3-year pathway question. So this one would not really be feasible to complete in 3 years with a double major, but it is something people do. And I know Suwa mentioned that she kind of works with education as well. I've seen students double major in education, democracy, and justice, which was one of my majors. That's pretty common. Sociology. I've seen students double in biology if they're interested in the pre-health pathway, sometimes students go that route. So there's a lot of different cool options, and you can really make your experience really interdisciplinary by being intentional with what majors or minors you potentially add. I do want to say graduating with a general psychology major is amazing and impressive. Like, it's not like you're winning more if you're doing a double major or a minor. I think that's a misconception. That's an option available to you. And if you want to do that, fantastic. It's something I wanted to pursue. But that doesn't mean that getting one bachelor's degree from a university is less impressive. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that it's not a mandatory thing you need to do. Typically with the general psych, you have enough room to add a minor. So it's something we suggest, just because it's overwhelming sometimes to be like, pick any classes to get to your credit count. But some people like to do that. So it's just an option for you.
I got a direct message that I think would be good to just answer out loud. Somebody asked, what is intensive psychology? And we went over that in more detail during the first orientation info session. But the requirements are the same as general psychology with the addition of 3 courses. So it would be 2 quarters of one of the educational opportunities, so field study, research, or the senior thesis, and then Psych 181 or 182, which is an advanced research or advanced statistics course.
Awesome. And a lot of those opportunities and requirements in the intensive psych are related to what Carrie was talking about. So field study, research positions on campus, things like that. And that would be 2 quarters worth. But that's going to be a while for you all. But you can really think about in the meantime, you know, what's my area of interest in psych? We have a variety of subfields. We have clinical, developmental, cognitive, social methods. There's so many different things to explore, and really finding your niche and what you think is really interesting can steer you towards which research pathway or field study position might make sense for you. So these are all things you can be doing in the meantime, in addition to networking with professors. Like, you could go to Ben's office hours and be like, tell me about your research, and have a conversation about that. I do want to explain a little bit what intensive in general. So it can be a little bit confusing. So intensive requires those 3 additional classes. So it's a methods course and 2 quarters of a research position or field study, something like that. However, if you're general psych, you can still do those things. They're just not requirements. When you graduate, it's not going to say intensive or general psych on your diploma. It's going to say psychology BA. So I just want to throw that out there. Typically, people opt to do intensive if they're interested in grad school, but that's not even a main reason either. Some people just want that experience and don't plan on going to grad school. So it's really something, they're the same declaration requirements, and it's very common for people to switch their concentrations back and forth. And that's pretty easy for us to evaluate. So it's not something that needs to be set in stone and you feel like you have to commit to when you declare. It's something you can adjust later on.
And I would just add, Paige, just because they asked if it would affect their career choices, absolutely not. A lot of students are under the impression that they have to take intensive psychology because it's going to help them stand out when they go into the career field. That's not the case. It's really what I tell students. It's really about how you articulate what you learned. If you can articulate what you learn, that's the important piece of being in a job interview. So, you know, people are going to really quickly scan over your resume, but it's really going to be you, the person, that they're going to want to hear from, hear about your skills, hear about your experience. That's going to be what sells you. So don't feel like you're limited to only intensive psychology. You would be perfectly fine with a general psychology major as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for saying that, Carrie, because oftentimes we get, and I'm speaking from experience, I kind of got wrapped up in, you know, what am I doing? You know, like, is this class going to make me stand out? And, you know, there are things you can intentionally do throughout your career, your academic career, to help with that. But at the end of the day, it's really about kind of that holistic experience. And if you're thinking about, hey, like, maybe I want to work in the community, maybe a field study would make sense for you in a couple of years. Like, hey, I really want to be in a lab on campus. Like, I really want that experience. Networking with professors and figuring out if there's any opportunities available. just thinking about those and having questions ready is going to prepare you for that timeline. So these aren't necessarily things you're going to be doing right now, but you can spend this time preparing for that. So you're set up with that timeline. Let's see. Psych 10 and Psych 20 are not declaration requirements. So those can really be completed at any time. Psych 10 is a prerequisite for some of our upper division developmental courses. So that's the only thing there, but those aren't declaration requirements. But that's a really good question. They're just 2 additional lower division courses that are required for the psychology in general and intensive.
Is Psych 20 declaration requirement for Cog Sci majors though?
Yes, for Cog Sci, absolutely. Thank you, Ben.
And just to emphasize one thing you said earlier, which is a great point. We are doing our best to increase the number of offerings of Psych 10 and Psych 20 and Psych 100. We have a lot of students that want those classes, and we've increased it. We have more seats this year than we've ever had, and we're probably going to increase it next year as well. But take advantage of your first year to take other classes. All those units count towards your 180. So if you're trying to get out in 4 years or less, it doesn't have to be the psych class that you take first. So get those other classes, take a variety of great classes that we offer here at UCSC. You'll have time to get to all the psych requirements.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you, Ben. And just to go off of that, our academic plans specifically don't list our major requirements until, or like the majority of our major requirements until your 3rd and 4th year. And then the first 2 years are those declaration requirements. So literally our academic plan is designed to show you that you don't need to be worrying too much about completing everything. Because 1, we are an impacted department and that's not as feasible. And 2, GEs are really cool. Like I took a Walt Disney class. I mean, that was cool. You know, and that was for one of my GEs. You know, we have a class about the Beatles. We have a class about the Muppets. We have a class about oceanography. So you can really like explore a bunch of different things. That's how I found my second major was I took an education class for one of my GEs and I was like, this is for me. And now I work in higher ed. So oftentimes GEs can help add to your academic journey as well and maybe kind of fortify and make your experience a little bit more enriching by adding something else on top of that. And then just to repeat, we'll be posting this recording so you can hear us talk again. And that will include the slides as well. If you have any more questions, just feel free to throw them in the chat. But who's excited to be a banana slug? This was a lot of information, but this is exciting. Who's excited? Hopefully everyone's internally excited. Okay. Psychology and application of psychology in business. Like occupational. That I would meet
Anything,
with us. Yeah.
Anything social psych related or clinical with an emphasis on like personality is going to set you up for an IO kind of program.
Definitely. Yeah. So if you have questions about like, hey, like I'm interested in this career focus, like are there specific courses that are related to that? That's something we can also talk about in meetings. And yes, with minors and additional majors, if they're outside of our department, you would go directly to them and you would have your advisors associated with that major or minor. But we will be working with them on your academic plan in the future. So it all blends together so we can make sure we're hitting all the requirements.
There's a question about Psych 10 showing up as not satisfied in a degree progress report. If you haven't taken Psych 10 or haven't taken an equivalent course at a community college, that's why it's not showing up as satisfied. If you took an equivalent course at a community college, It might just be taking some time for the transfer credit to show up in your DPR. But you could email us and we can check.
Yeah, definitely. And I know sometimes folks, I think over email, confuse Psych 1 with Psych 10 sometimes. So
The DPRs aren't going to be updated, I've been told, until maybe the end of fall. Yeah, with all the statistics and other coursework you're transferring in.
yeah, so that's always something, if you're concerned about that, it will probably take a while to update, but we can let you know, like, hey, like, we can assume this will be satisfied. Or if it so happens that there was some confusion, we can make sure we fit in that course at a later time. This is taking me back to when I was a freshman. This is so nostalgic. Has anyone explored campus yet? Well, I hope. I mean, you moved in. Has anyone walked around campus? I'll assume that's a yes. But yeah, I mean, take some walks. Oh yeah, good. Yes, you learned how to use the bus system. That's a good first step. Because it's really confusing at the beginning. You're like, we got these slug buses and then there's a metro, like does that like leave campus? Yeah, so that's really important to learn how to use that. Awesome, love it. We go to school in the forest. I mean, it's cool.
I got a direct message that said someone rode their e-bike around campus with their roommate yesterday.
Awesome. Yeah, e-bikes are new to Santa Cruz. We're very excited about it. The Seymour Center also has the e-bikes over there. So if you're looking for something to do before classes start, or even then, check out the Seymour Center. I volunteer there. So that's just a little ocean education center that's affiliated with UCSC. That's a super fun place to check out. Oh yes, we all are. You've been walking about 7 miles a day. We are our fake acronym is UC Strong Calves. So you'll be surprised how fit you'll get walking around campus. You might be like heaving a little bit as you walk up the hills at the beginning, and then all of a sudden you'll be like fast walking up hills. So you'll be surprised. So you'll get your steps in, for sure. And if you all like, if the buses are really busy, everything's walkable. So don't worry too much about that. You just have to, allot an appropriate amount of time to walk. I got lost around the theater for a while yesterday. Oh yeah, when my parents and I visited, we got lost for like 3 hours because we thought it made sense to see every residential college. So we got lost along the way for sure. We also have hiking trails above College 9 and John R. Lewis. And students also do research up there. That's a natural reserve. So that's a cool spot to check out as well. Any last questions? A second. All right. Like I said, we'll be doing drop-ins, or I'll be doing drop-ins at 11:15. So if anyone has any other questions, you're more than welcome to join then, schedule appointments with us, to just check out our website and then kind of explore how that works. But if there's nothing else, thank you all for waking up and joining us this morning. I'm really excited for you. I know my team is really excited for you, and we're excited to meet you all in person. Yay. And we'll be there on Thursday. And like I said, we'll be there Tuesday through Thursdays weekly. But congratulations to all of our new slugs. Take a picture if you find a banana slug. It's a tradition. Make sure you find one eventually. But thank you all for joining us. And we wish you a great first day of instruction on a Thursday and then following week 1. But thank you all for coming, and congratulations again.